Dan and Madeline, thanks so much for joining me for Aspen Ignites. We're going to be talking about eroding trust in higher education and how to restore that trust. And I was struck by something I read about Americans losing their faith in higher ed more quickly from 2015 to 2019 than for other institutions that Gallup polled, including the presidency and Congress. And Dan, I'm wondering how you think all this fits together and the project of restoring faith in higher ed connects with that of society more broadly and other institutions.
Well, the first thing I'd say is that there are a lot of different kinds of institutions of higher education all across this country. And so if you read the New York Times, you'll be reading about 3 or 4 institutions, but not about the hundreds and thousands that are making an impact in community, like Miami-Dade College. And so I think that's the most important first thing, is to look at schools individually and start to build an awareness of what colleges are doing that their communities, their students, their employees, and their partners value a great deal. And there's a really good story to see when you look that way. If you only read the controversies covered in the New York Times, you won't see that, because they're not covering Miami-Dade colleges or many other community colleges or other types of institutions the way those institutions should be.
And Madeline, talk about two-year colleges. I mean, they have, broadly speaking, been hit hard by enrollment declines and more people questioning whether they're worth the time and the cost, which is obviously much lower than a 4-year college, but still significant for a lot of people. How do you see that playing out at Miami-Dade College?
So at Miami-Dade College, we're focused on making sure that we're preparing students for the future of work. And that's the factor of being of relevance, right? I think we're in a knowledge economy. Nothing is telling us that this isn't going to be a knowledge economy and a skills-based economy for a long future. And so we're going to need students, we're going to need talent. Talent is the new economic currency in every community. And it's America's community colleges that have been the workforce engine of our communities, and it's who we are at Miami-Dade College. And so whether it's putting together certificate programs in artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, nursing, expanding our nursing program by 40% post the pandemic because we knew we needed more nurses, and we were hearing that from our healthcare leaders, to building a pathway, into cybersecurity in a space where now technology dominates, right? And the threat of cybersecurity, having those stackable credentials. And so I think a path to building trust is building on the promise that the promise of higher education is still a path to prosperity. And while a 4-year university private path is not for everyone, the ability to upskill and level up in America is.
And how are you making sure that people have the opportunities that fit them? So connecting them with the employers, if they do want to transfer, making sure that they have the ability to do that, that their credits transfer.
So I think one of the ways with employers is apprenticeships. We've launched a series of apprenticeships in non-traditional apprenticeship areas. So if I told you we had an apprenticeship in the trades, you're like, of course. We have an apprenticeship program with Tesla that we replicated for local car dealerships in automotive technicians. And so they have that apprenticeship program. We've done it with banking, and now we've done it with teachers. And so we're creating a teacher apprentice program. So that's one of the ways that with employers we can deliver on that promise that this program is going to prepare you to work. I think the other aspect, as you look at the associates and baccalaureate pathways, how do we make sure our curriculum not only aligns to workforce, but also to our universities, the partnerships with our universities. In Florida, we have the articulation agreement and common numbering system. So the good news is that students don't lose credit when they transfer. When they earn that Associates of Arts, it's +2. It's a 2+2 in Florida, not 2 + 555, right? And so I think that helps students graduate. And look at Miami-Dade College, less than 2% of our students take on any debt. I think part of the erosion also of the value of higher education is when the headlines are about the trillions of dollars in debt. And that isn't happening at most public institutions, and certainly is not happening among our 2-year colleges. And in Florida, we haven't raised tuition in a decade. So still affordable and accessible for our community.
And Dan, how do you see that higher education more broadly can restore faith at 2 years, but also at four-year schools?
So one way is by looking at the success stories. So the Aspen Institute recognizes the top performing two-year colleges in the country with something called the Aspen Prize, which is $1 million prize that goes to those that are graduating their students and propelling them into lifelong sustainable, family-sustaining jobs. Miami-Dade College is one of the winners. So San Antonio Community College and Imperial Community College, schools all across the country. At the regional public level, though, Georgia Tech, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, both have tremendous records of expanding access and graduation rates. Or if you go to another sector, the religious sector, University of Dayton, a Catholic school, has a phenomenal partnership they've done with their large local community college, Sinclair Community College, really partnering to dual enroll students right from the start. Or if you look at the more selective institutions, Princeton and Yale have really jumped out as schools that have exceptionally high graduation rates that meet full financial need and have substantially improved their enrollment of low-income students over the past few years. Now, that's not the norm, what I've said here, and every single institution is thriving in every single way, but there are many that are. And I would argue that following the lead of the two-year colleges and making sure that education is relevant for the life aspirations of students is what every institution should do to ensure they build trust, hold trust, and grow trust.
Higher education is not known for being really nimble and flexible and evolving. And, we're starting to see colleges close. I mean, that's not new, but we're seeing more colleges close this past year with more closures expected. So, can colleges evolve and step up for this moment?
They have to. The country is depending upon it. As Madeline said, our country is full of talent in every zip code, in every community. Our economy is a knowledge economy, and that means it's changing constantly. The rate of change because of technological development is exponential compared to even 10, 15 years ago. So we have to create lifelong learners that have the skill set and the mindset to keep learning and growing and giving back. And so that's what higher education is there to do.
What about politics? So higher education has been politicized. Education in general has been kind of a target of the culture wars, probably more so in this state than most. How is that affecting and making more difficult the path to build trust with parents, with their children, encourage people to enroll, rebuild trust in the college experience?
At Miami-Dade College, we're seeing a thriving enrollment. We are up from post-pandemic numbers. We've fully recovered the enrollment loss of 2020 and 2021. So I think the trust in our community is very high. And among parents, today we lead the state, and more than 11,000 students are duly enrolled while they're in high school at Miami-Dade College, and those students are in public schools, private schools, charter schools. We're seeing first time in college applications on the rise, and we're seeing an increase in first time in college students enrolling in higher education across the state, but right here in our community, seeing many more enroll. We launched the Presidential Scholars, Rising Scholars for scholarship programs, a testament to the trust that we have. We launched a program called Future Ready, and that ensures that in Miami-Dade County, every high school student that graduates has an opportunity to come to Miami-Dade College to earn their associate's degree tuition free. And so I think those are pillars of trust, right? And when I think about the corporate partnerships coming to us across the board to build capacity for their talent as well. And so I think, for us at Miami-Dade College, it's putting the student first. When students come to us, they have a dream. And their dream is to come to post-secondary and to come to college to either go to the university or secure that job for a better life. And we have to deliver on that. And the way that we do is making sure that we create an environment for students where they learn and thrive and where they learn those skills. At the college, I think that students need to graduate with 3 distinctive skill sets. The academic skills, those are those academic skills that help you be good critical thinkers. the future proof skills that we hear so much, communication and teamwork. And then the third are digital skill sets with artificial intelligence and all of the other digital tools, making sure that students leave with that, with those skills that are equally as important. And I think that's what our mission is. Our mission is to ensure that students receive a high quality education that's accessible and affordable and prepares them for a career and prepares them for a job.
Dan, what about you in terms of politics and those headwinds against colleges?
Well, there are a range of political headwinds. So one is that colleges have become a woke brainwashing machine. Another is that colleges only exist to reinforce the existing economic status quo and have nothing to add to economic mobility. A third is that it's not worth the money. People are just wasting their time. And while I don't think any of those critiques is anywhere close to 100% true, colleges should take them seriously and engage those questions and build the success that show that those narratives are actually not the case at their institutions. I don't think we can just ignore the critiques. So on the one that it's become highly politicized from a left-wing perspective, make sure that professors are teaching in a way that is neutral and impartial. In terms of the questions about whether the school is functioning as an engine of upward mobility or not, make sure we're recruiting students from all economic backgrounds and leaning in to first-generation college students, and so that those students can create greatness with their lives, with their education. Now, on this point about education being a waste of time and a waste of money, let's make sure that the activities in and out of the classroom are positive in developing the capabilities needed for a self-chosen life afterwards. That's on colleges. They can't make the critiques go away simply by wishing they were gone. We have to build fact patterns and communicate them confidently that shows why it matters that we have a strong and diverse sector of 2- and 4-year institutions, as well as a strong sector for vocational education and for lifelong learning after college.
Do you see any innovations or good examples of that happening in terms of the communication? My colleague wrote about like a marketer in Texas who's putting on billboards information about the value of colleges. Do you see, how do you see this happening most successfully?
This feels like a setup, a nice setup, so thank you. Because I just have written a book which will be coming out in June. It's called Mindset Matters, The Power of College to Activate Lifelong Growth. And this story, in this book, I tell the stories of about 35 students that went to Franklin and Marshall when I was president. And I detail, through their sharing of their experience, how they developed a mindset to be a discoverer, to be a creator, to be a teammate, to be a mentor, and to live a life of striving after their values. A number of the students in there came from Miami, including a couple who did their early college at Miami-Dade. And these stories are fantastic because they illustrate how college offers an opportunity for students to lean into their learning and to take advantage of all the resources around them and create for themselves the education that they seek. And that's something I think that we need to remind people about at both the level of statistics, but also at the level of individual experience, the eminence of the individual student that shows up and creates great learning for herself or for himself. So I hope my book in a small way will contribute to people saying, oh yeah, there are millions of people going to America's colleges every single year and walking across that stage at graduation with tears in their eyes and parents and family members screaming and yelling and waving flags because what they've done with their college education is create their future and extend the future of their whole family.
And in terms of the 4-year colleges and maybe work that you did at Franklin and Marshall, talk about sort of the connections to the workforce and what should be happening there. We heard about it in terms of 2-year colleges, but what are some examples in terms of 4 years that you see happening?
So at Franklin and Marshall, the approach we took was that we wanted to have a 10-year period of maximal developmental impact on students. The year we were recruiting them, the 4 years we had them, and the 5 years after. And so we extended our services dramatically in terms of being able to help students pivot from job 1 to job 2, from job 2 to graduate school, from graduate school to job 1. The 20s are a period now of continued early adult development, learning, risk-taking, growth, experimentation. And so strong institutions are helping students have the skills and the mindsets, definitely to succeed, but also are trying to invest in their continued learning. And I think over time, the four-year institutions will follow the lead of the two-year institutions and begin offering more learning opportunities for people in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. Because in this economy, with constant rapid change, we're all going to have to learn to do new things, always.
We're here at a conference about climate change, and I'm curious about the ways in which that's changing the workforce and the job opportunities for your students and then, beyond.
I think climate and climate tech is the future. I think that we're going to address our climate issues, not just behaviorally, but I think through technology. And what we're seeing is a lot more startups and innovators in Miami using tech to address climate issues. We had AI hackathon where students who learned AI had an opportunity to address a community need, and a group of our students used the AI and the county data to develop a map on where there was potential flooding, not flood zones for insurance, but where there was potential flooding. And so I think we see that. So for us at the college, it's working with the tech ecosystem, the entrepreneurship ecosystem, and then companies that have come in, with either alternative energy, solar energy, the things that we're doing around automotive technicians and helping support that. So I think the way we get through is certainly going to be a combination of the human skills and human talent and behavior, but also leveraging the knowledge and technology to accelerate and scale.
So this summit is bringing together problem solvers from all different walks of life and backgrounds. And one of the things we do is we bring a big group of young people here every year. So we offered the opportunity for 100 students from around the country to come to this conference, be a part of it, present, learn. These students, as it turns out, are doing everything from working on innovations in technology around carbon capture or around data collection or around removing plastics from the ocean, or they're developing their own startups, or they're working in research projects on different aspects of climate, or they're working on public health, or they're working on public education, or they're interning for companies that have created whole new roles around sustainability. There's an enormous set of opportunities. We brought 100 students here, but 2,100 applied for those 100 spots, because this generation of young people is the future of the country. They're not sitting around waiting for somebody else to solve the climate issue. They're leaning in, say, how can I take part in this great crusade to make a difference for the world, but also to recreate the economy? And if you want to really look at the future of America, all you've got to do is go to the Miami-Dade College's graduation. That is the future of America. Every single day on that campus, when the students at Miami-Dade colleges walk across that stage, you're talking about students from 50 or 60 national backgrounds with every kind of interest in working, with every kind of aspiration. And I don't know how anyone could look at that graduation or look at this summit with all the young people here and not say, actually, what more can we do to invest in young people?
Great. Well, on that note, thank you so much.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you, Caroline.